React app that I've already created, so we don't have to watch that. You can also just build into one of your old ones, or something. All right, so let's go ahead and get this all going here. Our terminal, npm start. So today is all about props, bit, which we've already kind of explored a bit, yeah. Remember, props are what we can pass into a component. It comes in as an object. We pass those via attributes of when we make that component, and it comes that object, and then within that component we can destructure out the specific arguments we want, or we can just say props dot whatever, right? Hopefully that's familiar. Okay, so we've got our app here. Let's open it up. Ah, nice. Oh, also, I should mention that the calculator project that we signed, we updated it a bit more so that the instructions are a bit more clear and whatnot. What? Today. Why? Did you already start? That's great. Nothing. It won't you won't have to redo it. I tried to do it yesterday, last night, and I got carried away with some details, so we just cleaned up some of those, so that it doesn't have to be the Apple calculator. It can be a different calculator. The Apple calculator's got some really fascinating functionality. If you've ever really experimented, it's kind of awesome. But you don't have to reproduce that. Although if you want to, you can. That's all the more power to you. Okay, so let's just get rid of this. Make sure everything is working the way we would expect it to. Say hello. And we get our hello. Okay, great. I'm also just gonna, I don't want the CSS right now either. Okay, so I want us to kind of build this out together. Hey, it's you? Oh, okay. That's too bad. I thought this was yours. Is this yours?
No, I was not.
Do you know whose it is?
No.
Okay. Damn. Okay. That's all right. We'll get it next time. Okay, so what I want us to be building kind of like a shopping application. Okay, so we're going to have a list of products. So we're going to have our products list. And then we're going to have our specific product component. Okay, so these are going to be our two components, product list and product component. I have the list. I kept it in assets. I will slack it out. Oh, it opened up my Slack there. Brilliant. Okay. Gesundheit. So if you're following with me here, we've got our products. All right, so instead of having a product list here, let's actually just make it a component. And I'm just going to cut this out for now. All right, so in here, I want us to make a class component. So I want you to do this. All right, here's the directions, right? Make a class component with a list of products in its state. Okay, renders each product via product component. Okay? Any questions on what I want you to do? No? All right, we're just making a class component with the state. It's going to have all of our products, and we're going to iterate through those and with map and pass all of the information to a product show, and then that component will show that product as well. Okay? So let's spend about 15 minutes doing that.
I don't know why. So, Corey, you want us to take care of this?
Yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah. Sure, those all your chocolates?
No.
Looks good.
They have some.
Oh, no. No, I like it too much.
Oh.
I've only eaten it on that place during the holidays and vacation.
Really?
But next week day will be on
Who's that?
It's on the 4th of March. Yeah, I think I'll be away. Take a day off. What?
He said I'm out.
Yeah. Jeez. That's the number quite.
Right.
Renders each product 30. Also, I guess it's quite
Everything is fine. Yeah.
That's it.
So.
I'm really thinking hard.
Oh, maybe I could go. Can I ever get them back? It's settled down, no? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Render product. Just iterate product.
Mm-hmm. Like pass it in the information to a new component that just registers, prints prints the product information.
Also just okay, alright.
Makes your own product go so quick. Oh, and then okay, I see.
All right, so we seem to be getting a lot of confusion, right? We have our state. State always points to an object, right? Objects are key values, products, pointing to all of those products that I listed. We don't use for each, for just for side effects. We're never using consideration for these anyone forever. For each side effect. Yes. That's absolutely nothing. I'm gonna run it, check it out. Still fine. This just has all.
Support.
Yes.
So this is not return, maybe. That's what it was.
It's always going to do that.
No, I did earlier.
Give us some more information on sound. Oh shit, these are still the same notes.
Okay.
What? Oh, you can hear it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Oh, good.
It was hard, but it was hard to like put like where you put. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good visual actually. I was happy with it. All right, on a scale of like fist to 5, how are we doing on this? Okay, well, yeah, we can do a bit more time. Sure.
You could just put this in the state on top. How did you get the bar in English? I was in Yes, please. Yes. You did the way
That whole thing should be also supposed to create
Just one product.
for one product.
Each product uses its own brand on it. So that all this stuff in reality you won't want to use. See, it's not information at all. That's what I'm remembering.
So we the whole entire
Well, you're
display products. Display the products.
so
That's well, but we didn't have.
I wanted to go show on the so as like the way
She has the keys.
So that's I don't understand the key.
well, I first was that I did, and then I was
So yeah, use this key to keep track of. Use that
yeah. Same as you, that
Like I know I'm supposed to use it.
Also, you have draft documents here.
Yeah.
So you're already, you got rid of those already.
Yeah, no, I had
No, it's not.
yeah, I had
Because this is
No,
I
I remembered you because you gave me the advice to use it when I was trying to do the last time. So, yeah, so that thing.
This, I got it from
Yeah, the keys for React. Updating items. The React uses that key to keep all the keys.
So if I'm just returning the key tag,
Inside of the
I'll just.
That's not inside of the key tag. Right. You can do that.
Okay.
So what I learned yesterday, so I was confused about how to like
Okay.
so I learned that you had to install something called helmet,
oh, so what's the point of this?
put it in like the helmet, and then you'll be able to style it in your React through that helmet tag. So that's when you can actually style like the body. It's just like, oh, it's like crazy.
What are you talking about?
Helmet. Something called helmet.
It's an ad. You don't need it.
Well, that's what I use.
What do you think?
I would have to admit that that's what I do.
Why not just style with CSS? Oh, okay.
Like it was just one of those things.
You can also add a styles object.
Yeah, so I couldn't pass a styles object. Like, I didn't know how to do it. The body was already created. I don't know how to grab the body.
The body. You just go to the folder where there's the body. Your body is this.
That's what
Your body is in your destination.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh.
And your index.js, you can still just write dot body.
Really?
Like body. Yeah. You can do it. Yeah. In your CSS.
Oh, in oh,
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Clap once if you can hear my voice. Clap twice if you can hear my voice. All right, how did we do? Yes, no, maybe so. All right, what were some of the hard parts? What were some of the things that were tricky that we can focus on? So if you don't tell me, then I can't focus on it, right? So that makes it really tough. Yeah, Marvin.
Can you explain the product component? Can you explain the product component? I guess I had trouble figuring out in what way I'd be explaining that information.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so just how we're going to connect another component to it? Totally. What else? All right, that will be what we focus on then. Okay, so then let's just blast through the products list. Okay, so we are going to do it. Import React from React, right? We have our class component. Oops. And we can say product list. We have our state already here that we can, whoops, that we can flip into. Whoa, what is going on? What is going on here? As they say. Okay, and so we'll use that state instead. And we said we wanted our product list to be all of our products. Right, so this is our state. This wants me to do extends component, so I'll just do it like this. Right, either one of those is fine. I can either destructure it out or just call it on React. Makes absolutely no difference. And in our render, we can just render hello for now to make sure everything is connected. Hello products. And let's go to our app and import it. So let's say import product list from /component / product list. Okay, and we will create that component inside. And let's go check to make sure it's there. Okay, so we got hello products. Great. Okay, so then to address Marvin's question, how are we going to use a display, a specific product, right? So React is nice enough to allow us to render an array of JSX elements. Okay, and so those JSX elements can be of anything, but as an array, it can just handle that. So the game plan here is that we are going to map over our current products and go ahead and render them as an array. So let's say we're going to say I'll just say prods, and I'll say this.state.products.map, right? So for every single element in my map is essentially going to be one product, right? Because each product is an object, a product object. So I'll say is a product, and I'm going to put this in its argument, product, with its index there. And so now I can return from my map this JSX, some JSX. Right, so if I were to say something like return, let's just make a div for now, and I could say product dot, I forget the properties we had on it. Did we have a name?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, so now I've got this array called prods. Now I can render this array inside of my return here, simply by making JSX and calling the name of it. So if I do that, I get, it's the other way. Yeah. I get all of these 4 products that we've built. Now, that's better practice to, instead of figure out how I want to render and display things here and make it all nice, instead I'm actually going to return a new instance of a different component that's purely going to focus on displaying that information. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and build out that product now. So I'm going to make a new file. And this should be called, I'll call it product display, let's say, .js. Let's import React. Does this product, or does this component need a state? No, right? So we just want this to be a display component. So that means we're going to write it with our const. We'll say, I'll just say product, yeah, display. This is going to take in some props. And I'm going to export it down here. Default product display. Oops. Snuck in there. And this has to return something. Oops, I didn't mean to make an object. And so for now, we'll just return a div that says product display. Okay, so we've built out another component. This is purely to display our products. That's it. So now let's import that into our product list. Display from / product display. Great. Name, manufacturer, price, and quantity. So now, instead of returning our div here, we want to actually return our new product display. So we can say product display like this. Yeah, Kelvin.
Why were you saying that's better practice?
You want all of your components to be doing one thing, and you want to break things into smaller components. So this component is purely in charge of displaying one singular product, and we can reuse that in other places in the application. If we might have different lists that we want to, in different situations where we want to display different products in different ways, and we would have to reuse or remake a lot of these things, because we might want to have the exact same display, but with a different list. Yeah, Rafid?
Can I see the product display?
Yeah, sure. Our product display doesn't do much right now. It's just a function that returns product display. It's not doing too much. It's just a piece of JSX. I do have to save our product list though. And let's make sure that it did transfer over. So now we have our 4 product display. Now obviously this isn't that effective. We need to pass the other information. Right? For some reason we also don't get a warning. Right now you're probably getting a warning that says something about needing a key when you're iterating. So the key is for React. It's not for you. Okay, so I know you might not completely understand why React needs a key. Irrelevant. It's for React. It wants the key. We have to give it the key. What it does use it for is React uses it to run a more efficient diffing algorithm against the real DOM to see which elements have changed and updated or deleted and stayed and created. It's using it to keep track. It's keeping the magic alive. Right? So we got to add the key. The key gets added, in the iteration here. So right here is where I would add it. And I'm going to say key. The key should be unique. So usually things have an ID. In this example, our products actually don't have an ID. So that's a little annoying, but the names are unique, I guess. So I'm just going to say product.name for now. Where's this? Okay, so let's pass the other properties into our product display because we want it to say more than just displaying product. Right, so the way we pass those in, which these are all called props. Everything we pass is called a prop. All of them in a culmination is called props. Right, so we have a name property. So let's go ahead and say product.name. Right, this is for us. We will be able to use this. I'm just going to break these onto multiple lines so it's a little bit more readable. What else do we have? We have a price, right? So we'll say product price. Oh, a manufacturer, right? Manufacturer. So we can say product dot manufacturer, and I think we have a quantity, yeah? Quantity is product dot quantity. Do we have anything else? No. If we look at the HTML, do we think we'll see anything different? The web page?
Why is the key equal to product.name?
It's a unique, our names are unique right now. The key just has to be unique. A unique string or number. So if I go to the browser, will we see anything different? Why? Are we not? Yeah, Henry.
Is it because you're not? Alright, so in product display, right? You imported the product list, but you're not really putting it into the function.
Right. I'm not using. I didn't touch product display. Right. That's what Henry's essentially saying. I haven't made any changes to product display, so yeah, it looks identical. So let's go fix that. So now we've got all this information being passed in as props. Which here, I'll console log our props for you. And we see, oh, we have these name, price, manufacturer, and quantity coming in. So I can take all of those out of my props. We did. In our product list, we named all of these attributes. These become the key value pairs as props in that component. Good question. So now we can use these. Yeah, we can use these inside of our product display. We want to use these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to destructure these things out of props so I don't have to keep writing props. So I'm going to say name, manufacturer. Is that right? Manufacturer with an ER. We have our price and we have our quantity. And so now we can go ahead and figure out how exactly we want to display those items, right? So maybe I'm going to give a H3, and inside of that I'll put the name. we'll say, I don't know, inside of a div, we'll say manufacturer. We'll have that point to manufacturer. Let's do another div that just points to price. I'll put $1 in front. Then we'll do another div that just says quantity. Items remaining. Okay, so we've just kind of styled those out a bit. Let's go check our project and it's like, okay, looking, oops, not the right one. That's looking pretty good. That looks like what we want, essentially.
So,
Yep.
so the products, you map through the products, the state of the products,
Mm-hmm.
and you return.
Or
Okay.
can you go to further display?
I can.
Do we need line number 2? That makes sense.
Do we need line number 2? No,
Okay.
that's an accident. Thank you, Colin.
Wait, why not?
Why don't we need that? Because this is a child component, a product list. So a component should never know or have anything to do with knowing its parent component. The child should know nothing. It just receives props, doesn't need to know where they're from or anything like that. It should exist solely as its own. That way it's reusable. That had just accidentally been imported. Not sure how that happened. But good catch.
But
Okay.
we still have to like import product display in product list.
Yes, because we're using a component in there. It's a child. Product display is a child of product list. So we need to import product display in there because we're going to be using it. This is just a function that knows nothing else. Just knows these few props.
Question?
Yep.
In product list,
Right?
what's the purpose of having returning products down below?
This is the return for the render statement. Your render needs to have a return.
Couldn't couldn't you have done both in there in the render? Both returns?
I don't know what you mean.
Like
Like I am return. I do have both. I have this return, and then the returned mapped array from above.
okay, because what I did was I returned prods, and then inside of that I returned like a p tag.
Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. There's probably. I mean, there's definitely lots of ways of writing it. This is my personally preferred way. I like to set up kind of like the content, and then I'm just kind of returning that content. But there's definitely different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. If it works, it works. That's the most important thing. So if your app's not broken and it's working, that's really on the right start. Yeah, Deja.
So in prod, that I index is just to keep track of everything, right?
And I didn't end up using the I. I initially thought I might use it as a key. The I can be used as a key pretty much as the last resort. If you fail to give it a key, it uses I by default and then gives you that warning. But yeah, I'm not using that I.
But it's not necessary.
Okay, any other questions? All right, let's quickly make a little styling thing for it. So inside of our SRC, I'm just going to make a quick folder. I'll call it CSS. I'm going to make a file in there for our product display. I'll do it in caps, product display.css. In our product display, I just want to give each one a nice like border. So in my product display here, I'm going to give a class name to our div that wraps it. I'm just going to call this like product display container. Right, you can name yours whichever you desire. And then
Do we need to put product display containers inside the object product? After you just give it
in JSX,
yeah.
yeah, I think you need to. You might get away without it, but yeah, okay. So let's just give them a border, one pix, solid, red border. Is there something wrong? That looks, oh yeah, it probably needs a border property. I don't need border here, right? Okay. There we go. Yeah. What? Nice. Thank you. Yeah, Deb.
Do we give attributes to the child, or do we give it like what we call it, like the class name, or we want to give it an ID, or anything like that?
Tell me more what you mean. I'm kind of confused.
Like, if we want to give it a class name, like, do we give it in there, or do we have the class name here?
Okay.
IDs or like things like that?
Yeah, great question. So Doug's question is, where do we give a component its styling class names, essentially? Yeah, that's up to you. It depends on what you need to do. You could put it in the component the way we did here, but that could also be part of a prop that gets passed in, for sure. That would be fine as well. Just depends on what your individual needs are for that project. All right, so let's also import that. So let's say import /CSS / product display.css. And hopefully we've got our border. Beautiful. Exactly what I want. That way we can at least easier see separation. It's easy to imagine that we could style the sound to be attractive, right? Okay. So what's the next challenge? So this is our shopping website. What do we want to happen? What should a user be allowed to do? Buy something. Okay, I agree. Right, so let's say we have a buy button in our product display. So let's go here. Let's go ahead and add a little button. That should be lowercase. That just says like add to cart. Cool. So now we've got all these add to carts. And we click on it. And absolutely nothing happens. So what needs to happen? We should be able to add it to the cart. So our quantity should go down. I think we do have a quantity somewhere.
Yeah.
It's 6 items remaining, 5 items. I don't know why that's kind of cut off, but it's there. Here, I know what I'll do. We can style our way to making that a little bit more readable. Text align, center, margin. Okay. There we go. It's easier to read now. Okay, so when we buy that number should go down. We should add it to some cart. Right? So how's that going to happen? How does that work with the way our application is set up?
We need to keep track of the state of the quantity.
Okay, so we need to keep track of the state of the quantity. Where?
Over here on this page. So, well, we might be, well, yeah, I think we should be able to do it, right? So, well, yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Okay, while you're arguing, Isaiah.
Should we have method in our product list class?
In our product list class? Yes. Yes, we should. Right? So, the point that I'm trying to make, and this is the new piece of information. I know today's a props lecture. Most of this is hopefully, but if not, it's okay. But most of this should be a review up to this point. We have covered all of this stuff, just in different circumstances, where we're just passing props and display. But what we haven't yet encountered is a situation where a child component is actually going to update or change the state in a parent component. Right? We've had components change their own state, but not anywhere else. And so this is all about, this becomes a really important part when you start thinking about your application's architecture, which is where do I store these pieces of state? Right? If I have I'm going to erase this. You got a picture, right? Okay. So if I have an application component, and then I have maybe a product list, right? I have my product list. Now, I could have all types of things happening, right? I could also have my products. So I have my product. Now these have properties, but these properties are also exist in here. And so the real rule is essentially if two components share the same type of state, you should move the state up. It's called leveling up, I think, the state. Essentially, so like if something else was using the product list, like let's say I had another second product list display. For whatever reason, I wanted to display all of these same products. All of the products would have to live in here now, right? Because the state would have to go to the second product list display and would also have to go to the product list display. So the more places where things need to, it has to get moved to the most common ancestor. or the closest common ancestor. You think of it as a family tree. Questions on that? What?
So you heard that. I'm supposed to be here.
Oh,
I just gotta see it.
oh, you got to see it. Okay.
The state has to contain a property of the child.
Not necessarily. No.
Okay.
But if more than one component is using the same piece of state, like I could have a product that says like display username. I could also have a component that's a form. And as they type in the form, I want to start displaying their name. Right? So as they're writing CEO, and in here it's also saying CO. Right? Now should this component be part of the form? Probably not, right? Because the form should just be in charge of taking in information. But they still need to share whatever I'm putting into this form. So then there'd have to be a parent component that holds the name or something. And so every time they update it in the form, it gets updated in here, and then it gets passed here and passed back down.
That's what we have a previous state.
No, the previous state is referring to the state, if you're referring to the state that you're actively changing and reference it. That is different. Right, so if these two are both trying to display what the user's writing at the same time, then you actually have to hold the state higher up. Right, because you want a single source of truth. Single source of truth. Hopefully, you won't have to pass the same prop through multiple things, like too far. Like if there was another thing here, and another thing here, and another thing here, and this bottom component needed access to the same piece of information that this component, right? This is the least common ancestor. So you'd have to drill those props all the way down. That's called prop drilling. That's a negative to React. That's often a design flaw, but and there are ways around that with like something called React Context API. That's a good one way around it. That's when we enter the world of Redux or Apollo, you might hear. These are entire application state managers so that you can give slices of state. But for now, what we'll be dealing with is some prop drilling if you need to do that. But hopefully it won't be drilling too far.
So we don't want the prop drill.
Not really far, no.
So 3 times is too much.
No. I don't know. It just depends. But right, if I had another thing to show in my product, and then I'm still passing name through or something, it's not ideal. So anyway, now I'm going to teach you some ways for us to update that piece of state. Okay. So let's say so forget our product display for now, and we'll go back to our product list. We need to handle a buy. Someone's trying to buy something or add to cart. Maybe we want to have a cart in our state. That seems like fun, yeah? So let's also go ahead and add a cart. And maybe our cart is an empty array. And let's go ahead and write our handle add to cart. What do we care about? What piece of information do we actually need? Sorry? The quantity? All right, let's pretend you can only just buy one thing at a time. You click and you buy, click and you buy. But I like that you're thinking about that. What else? Though? The name? Yeah, sure. The name or like the ID, right? Since we don't have an ID, ours will take in the product name. So let's go ahead and pass product name. Okay. So our product name. So essentially, what I'm saying is, why don't we create a new array of products? So like, well, let's worry about the cart in a minute later. Let's first just worry about updating the quantity. But let's say like, okay, we can say let new product list, and we can take our current products. So this state.products, and let's go ahead and map through these. Oops. Okay, so how will we know if the product we're currently on is the same as our product name? What can we check?
We check the product name, product.name.
Yeah, we can check product.name, right? So we can say, hey, if product.name is equal to prod name, so if these are equal, we might also, there might be someone else we also care about.
Sorry, on Xcode, is that prod name inside the when you go inside the parentheses? Where was that for?
We're hoping someone passes that in.
Also, okay, you just created that prod name.
Yeah, we're writing the function from scratch. Yeah, Marvin.
Would it be like and quantity of 0?
Yeah, sure. I like that, right? Because we also want to make sure we don't sell things that are sold out. So we'll say and product dot quantity is greater than 0. What would we want to return? Yeah. Tanner?
You wanna grab the quantity and put minus 1.
Sorry?
You wanna grab the quantity and put minus 1.
Yeah, right. We want to subtract from that quantity. So we want to return this new product object where we have our name pointing to product.name. We have our quantity pointing to product.quantity minus 1. We have our manufacturer. We don't want to lose that. This is product dot manufacturer, and we have our price. Product dot price. Okay, but the map, each thing has to return, right? So that's if that's the right thing. Otherwise, we can just go ahead and return product, right? Because we want that to remain the same. So now we've got this new array. And with that new array, we can call set state. So we can say, hey, this, that set state, our products, pointing to new product list. Okay, so let's go over that again and see how this needs to be wrapped in an object. So, okay, so one more time. We've got a handle add to cart. Takes in a product name. And it's creating a new array that we're going to use to do the next stage. And we do that by mapping for our current products. And we're saying, hey, if the product name is the same, and the quantity is greater than 0, let's return that product, but with the quantity minus 1. Otherwise, we're just going to return that product. That way, our array will look almost the same. We're sending back a brand new array where everything is almost the same except for that one quantity. The cart thing we can worry about later. I'm not too worried. We could also just add it to the cart.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that, like, what happens to the cart?
Well, just do one thing at a time, right? Okay, so we've got our handle add to cart. So how does this function or method end up in our product display? What do we need to do?
Wait, so,
Hang on.
so
Yeah.
quick question. So
Okay.
after you return the product, you set the state.
At the very end, I'm resetting our state. There is a re-render every time there is a change in props or state. Marvin. We have to click the button, but what do we have to do to get it so that on the button we can fire this method? What do we think? How is product display going to get access to this function?
Oh,
Isaiah? As a prop. Right, we have to pass it in as a prop. Excellent. Okay, so instead of here, we're going to go ahead and say handle add to cart is equal to this dot handle add to cart. So now our product display has that as one of the props. So we have to go back here, we have to destructure it out so that we actually pull it from the prop. And now we have to add an on click. So we can go ahead and say, okay, on click. Now what's actually going to go in here, right? Like we don't want to just say this dot because there is no longer this. And we also don't want to just say handle click because we have to pass in the name, right? So we also can't just go handle click to cart and pass in name because why? Why can't I just do that?
It's a child.
Well, let's see what happens. And maybe we'll answer the question. So if we do that, and it breaks, it says maximum update depth exceeded. Can happen when a component repeatedly calls set state inside. So why did that happen? Yeah, Isaiah.
Because you're calling the function, so it's going to run there.
That's right. Remember, when you invoke a function, it runs, right? So this is calling a set state inside of a render, which happens every single time. So we need our onClick now to point to an anonymous function. And when that anonymous function fires, then we can fire our handle add to cart. Yeah, Henry.
Did you call the handle add cart into the product?
Yeah, we passed it in this prop and we just structured it out too. Okay, so let's see if this works, right? So we go here, we add an item to a cart, and it updates perfectly. So that is how you can change a parent component from the child component with a method.
so that is a drill.
What?
That is a drill.
Ah, that's not really a drill. No, that's just passing a prop. Drilling is like when you really pass the same prop. Like I'm not even using that prop, but I'm just passing it on through, and it just keeps going and going until like the great-grandchild using it, and it's been drilled all the way down from like the top level of the application. Yeah, Phil.
Are we ever going to see something like that using like bind?
Will you see something like that with bind? Not if you write it with this ES6 style and stick with create React apps. Otherwise, you'll just be binding inside of the constructor in the class. Yeah, Henry.
How did you run it on the product list? How did you target it into the function inside the product?
Well,
Is,
yes, this dot add to cart. Good question. Okay, so for your next challenge here, let's say spend the next 15 minutes to see if you can adjust this method to also add a version of that object into your cart. All right, update your handle add to cart to actually add it to our cart. Yep, add it to the cart, and then if you still have more time, figure out a way to display the items in your cart when they click a button. Okay, Yasin?
Can you go back to the on-click code?
I can. Yeah, Henry?
In that web, so when you run it on the HTML, right, and you have the website functioning, when you click on it, doesn't change?
Yeah. I think it's stuck at 0. Isaiah?
Can you push this?
Yes.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
So,
Danny, what's up?
so I'm just trying to figure out the flow.
Okay.
So, on product, yeah, I don't know if on product display.
Hang on. Okay, sorry, one more time.
On product display,
Okay.
created a button.
Yes.
One click of that button, we handle, we run the function, set
We've created.
we've created inside product list.
That updates products list state.
That updates products list state.
That's right.
And the reason why we're able to use that function is because
We pass that in via props.
we pass it in as a prop.
That's correct.
So now that it's a prop, we can use it.
And it will update the parents, which will also be updated the child. Yeah.
And then we pass in the function first, or we pass in the function that returns the function.
That returns the invocation of the function. The reason we're doing that is because we set up that method so that we need to get some piece of information so we know what part of our state is up. So for this one we had it, so you would have to pass in the name or ID, right? And so that's important. And so in order to pass that as the argument, we have to do it this way. Because this is the E, right?
Yes.
And then like if we just have it, well there could be an E in there, yeah. Because E gets passed. Right, and if I just had handle add to cart like that, right, without being invoked,
Yeah.
it would have passed E to it. Like all, you know how it always just, like we say this dot handle
Yeah.
update and it gets E automatically. We go like E dot target that value. Well, we don't want E. We don't really care about E.
Yeah, we don't need E, we need name.
We need that name. So to pass name and we're doing it this way.
Yeah, so that's funny because I tried to do that yesterday, and it didn't work, so I had to figure out a different way. But that helps because I was trying to just that, but it was essentially passing an E. And I'm like, how?
You don't want it. Yeah, right.
But I didn't know what was
And
happening.
we can't just invoke and pass it because it's an invoked function. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
You said yours was
No.
react. Yeah, Danny, what's up?
So, quick question.
Okay.
So, on the map, so, how would I determine the map?
Well, we don't like to turn we rather probably won't even do like events. We would probably, oh maybe, depends on how many people are next week was. Do that, to go
Yes, yes.
update something,
Exactly.
bring it back, and then maybe you make a new patch,
Yeah.
and then that would cover it,
That
right?
makes sense. That makes sense.
Yo, are you gonna treat a child like it's a push.
Oh, yeah.
So now I have to create a Don't you want to turn that new car? Don't you want to turn that the real car into a car? Take the money here.
Yeah.
So instead of that, wouldn't that be it?
Like I was. Got your car, two, this down.
No, it's not mine. It was already started when I came. Daddy. Oh, of course. Yeah. And So we each have a total.
I asked you, you said no, I don't want it.
It's weird to say that.
I did a little bit of
It just means that
we're versus.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still working on who's like position is what position, and then once we graduate. No.
So aside
Yeah.
from something like this, we have
Yeah.
one half of
You gotta make a new batch. Yeah. We're not selling anything right now. Yeah.
So.
I got you. Inside the bag. I got you.
That's the spiel to anybody support my company.
Set that underneath,
So,
I had a, I said I had because a lot of people support us, they talk about it. It comes down to it, they're going to be found.
that's why when you tell them specifically that it's mine, and I can use it. Now it's like, it's clear.
So now you want us to just
yeah, maybe we could toggle up seats and start. Yeah,
So, in this dot set states, I would say each of these dot set, car, dot set.
So you don't want to use dot like this.
No,
No, you can never directly view text. You can, oh my, bro, that's like, think of it as illegal.
so,
You have to use all sets. Yes. You never
so I would do that at all, I wouldn't do that at all.
You can never ever like mutate your state. It's illegal.
Okay,
So you can change it with set state, but like you could never say like this dot state dot count plus equals 1. It would have to be this dot state set state count plus equals
okay.
this dot state count plus 1.
So, we, is me?
And so now, when you go into there's rooted, so now, when you go to classes, so now you have to figure that as a practice that. So then you have to start click out for it with the new one, with the name of the order. So this that's no, in the set state, it has the others. It's a card system, card system. It's the erase other Alright, so we have to you be clear. But then my confusion comes
What the hell?
so it's supposed to be an ongoing change situation.
So, yeah.
Then you can try to share that.
That's not.
Cars.
And the
So products.
Creating a new function.
So you would be returning an object.
What is the version?
It's the object function.
When are you planning to
Art.
So how many
Okay, cool. Thank you.
if you want to push to all the way, then the same way or put it down?
So we have
Do
that.
that now.
But it says zero.
So there.
It should be just like.
Beginning of zero.
Yeah.
Something that is. So basically.
It's like if you buy like chocolate, they're like chocolate.
It takes that.
This is the chocolate, so it's two.
That's what I think. Yeah, that's fine, but it's quite just.
No, I cannot.
Go for it.
But the way I did it is. No,
Yeah. No. You can have abstract. So then just keep track of the object.
Or They're like everything, makes a look. And besides, like, what I'm saying, I would it sounds like it would be fun. Yeah, like, it's a lot of work. Yeah, well, like, no, your body. And then it's like real. I was thinking with talking
So my
How is it supposed to be? It's like routing. Yeah. Just have it show that component over here.
on the side.
Yeah.
I was thinking too far.
That's whoa.
Yeah.
Diamond routing.
So this concept state inside of the F statement. But then when I console log this,
Console log.
no, I was trying to see if
What's that state? Console log of render. What's your render?
oh, that was my render.
And then you have to create another thing, then we'll see what's going on with the state. Because once the state changes, the process will be random. You gotta just like change it. So you're all right.
Got a little bug there.
I was using the hardest place, that's why it threw me down.
What? I didn't even press you. I'm not even pressing you.
Question.
Yes, I'm here. I'm using
Learn.
Whoa. Wait till he asks a question. Yo, you know wait till he asks a question, right? Oh,
I didn't get any chapters, there's only you.
just the one he gave me.
That's what he gave me. Yeah.
What about that?
I took it this way still here.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. So I was getting fat. That's what stop getting all sweet. Start getting fat. But I'm so hungry.
What?
No, like, a year ago, last September before last, I was like, I haven't heard any songs.
Oh. I don't know, but I think
I'm definitely getting away. I'm 6 foot 2 now. It's not that.
Oh,
Not 6 foot 2. Yes. But I slouch a lot. My head's still. No, it's fun. No, like it was most of my head was my tooth. It was all of my belly. So my wife had to see my stomach back.
That's
And the doctor said I elevated my elevator look was much stronger. So then I did. So now I died here. 2 months and I was at 20 years.
Oh, I am? Oh, really?
I was almost back up to 108. But I was
I did not know that I was like this so
All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. All right, how do we do on this? Yay, nay, eh? Okay. What were some of our trials and tribulations? What were some of the tough parts? Yeah, Shia.
Finding exactly where to put this dot set state.
Finding where to put the this dot set state.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. What else? What else do we have struggled with? Yeah, Henry.
Maybe it's just time.
Just time. Not enough time. Fair. Marvin.
Also, I think what was another issue, I initially tried to push just items to the cart, but I realized you can't do that. So I guess I was trying to figure out, can we do
Yeah, so Marvin was one of the people I caught pushing to the cart. A lot of people I caught doing that. Right? Like, throw your hands up if you were guilty. Yeah, right? So pushing to the state mutates the state directly. Mutating your state is illegal. That could land you in jailhouse. Right? So you don't want to push to your state. You don't want, like before when we did our clicker app, we didn't want to do something where we were like, we didn't want to write some line that was like this.state.count plus equals 1. Because that's not okay, right? So instead we went this.setState, and then we did our new like count. Or we did our function, but we could have done like this.state.count plus 1 is equal to our new count, right? Remember we did something like this. Although we did it as a callback that set states up. So we can't use push, because push mutates an array. But we can still make copies of things. So, all right, let's go ahead. Just kind of rock our way through it. Okay, so we're adding to the cart. We've got our way to do it here. So let's go, before we map through it, let's go ahead and just find the item. So let's say let item, and I'll say this dot state dot products dot find. Right, find is an array method that takes in a callback. So product, and it's going to return the first instance that this is true. So I'll say return product.name. So I'm going to do the same logic that I did in the map, is equal to prod name, and product.quantity is greater than 0. This is before we've made any of those changes. So now, if I have my item, so this is either going to give me back the item or it's going to give me back null. So I'll say, hey, if item, then let's just go ahead and say this.set state, and we'll say for our cart. Oh, well, we want to refer to whatever was previously in the cart, right? Because we don't want to overwrite it. So that sounds like we have to use the callback, right? So we'll say pre-state. That person is really loud. If you see that person, let them know. And we say return, and we will say cart, and that will point to this new array where we take our cart and our item. Okay? Oh, well, this isn't just cart, sorry. Pre-state.cart. Okay, so if we do this, we should be able to add these elements to the cart.
What's the dot?
This is yep. It's the spread operator. Doug?
Why can't you do all of that and do it inside that if statement? Since that if statement is already checking whether or not the product quantity is greater than or the return.
Well, because I want a brand new array and I just want to change that one item. So if, I have the item, but I can't directly manipulate this item. So I could duplicate it, but then I'd still have to overwrite it inside of the other array. So it just feels easier to me to do it this way. It's a good question. So let's make sure this is actually adding things to our cart. So inside of my render here, I'm just going to console log this at state.cart. Bless you. And let's go. So our cart's empty. That makes sense. We've added one object. That's an Air Force One item. We'll add an Ultra Boost. Now we've got 2 items in the cart. Okay, so that's working. So we're able to add things to our cart successfully. Maybe we want to display our cart. Okay. So let's go ahead and, well, why don't we just make a new component that displays all the carts. So maybe maybe at the bottom of here, I'll do another div that says like items in cart, bless you. And we'll just call cart and pass in our, like, I don't know, I'll call it items. And we can say this state.cart. Okay, so now we've got a new component that just takes in a list of items, because I don't really want to get too wild. I already feel like we have too many things in product list. We really should probably just have the product list. So the most sane thing for me to actually do, but I just don't really want to do it, but it would be to move the state now up into the level above this, so it'd be like app, and then have cart and list read from app instead. We can do that, but we just don't have too much time, so I'm just going to do it like this for now. And we can add a new file. Let's call this carts, cartlist.js. And let's just build that out real quick. Functional component or a class component?
Functional.
Sure, functional component. Const cart list. It's going to take in, we said, items. It's going to return something. I don't know why I keep doing objects like that. Let's make it a UL. That'd be more fun. And inside of here, we'll say, well, we should probably iterate through all of our items, right? So for now, let's just say hello items, just so we can make sure everything still works. I don't want to build too much without checking. Export default cart list. We have to import that into our product list. Import cart list from /cart list. Oh, and we called it cart for some reason before we actually wrote it. All right. We've got some error. Doesn't like that I'm returning more than one child. So I'm going to wrap this in a fragment. That way I don't have to worry about that. I keep going the wrong way. It's different than what it usually set up as. All right. So we have our hello from cart. Great. Nothing happens as expected, but we're connected. All right. Great. So now in our cart list, I could make another component as well for our cart item. But honestly, we have a product. We already have a product display, right? So I can just reuse that for now too. So I'm going to import that because I don't really want to build the exact same thing that we've already built. Product display. Now in reality, I probably wouldn't want to include like the quantity in my own list, right? So maybe I would build something out, but we'll say items equals items.map item, and we will return our product display. This takes in a key. For now, I'm going to pass in the index this time, just to demonstrate something else that is possible for us. So I'll say hi, and we have some properties that it expects, right? What are those properties? Name. Okay, so that's item name. Price. Manufacturer. And so this, so I'm thinking about it, and it's not going to be the ideal to look at because it's still going to have that buy button, which isn't, we're not going to hook anything up to it, but anyway, it should just kind of get the point across. Oh.
We have two manufacturers and two prices.
Where are we looking? Oh. Don't know how that happened. Thank you. Okay, so we have. Oh yeah, and we never returned.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Quantity, yeah. And then in here we'll have our items. Okay, so now we have items in our cart empty. When we add Nike, what we see now we have an Ultra Boost in there. I can add an Air Force. And we have, whoa, things are acting really weird because of our, I think it's because of our buy it nows and stuff. So this might have been a little bit sloppy. Let's just do item display. Okay, let's just make a new component. Get around the bug that serves us right for trying to cheat it. Item display.js. Yep.
You know, in the item display, you have the certain items. Wouldn't you want to choose a certain item for the cart? Some items?
Yeah, but we sent the whole list of items. So we wanted to update that. So const item display. This takes in a name. Do we care about price anymore? I guess so. Price, manufacturer. Manufacturer. Okay. Here we go. Let's just blast through this, especially with an H3. Let's say name. Didn't close it. All right, div. We'll just make that price. Price. All right. I'm just gonna use the two things for now. Just because I don't want to get too carried away here. Export default item display. Excellent. And now we have to import that into our cart list. Item display. This is from slash item display. Okay. Let's see if that works. All right, so we've got we'll add our Ultra Boost. We'll add our Air Force One. We'll add another Air Force One. We'll add our SK8. Okay, it's working. Right, we could have a button that toggles and shows it all, or not. That's a pretty easy add-on. We would just add another thing of state like show cart, don't show cart, toggle. But that's it. Essentially, any questions on any of that? Yeah, Con.
I was trying to put the shopping cart as an object because like think about if you add in two Ultra Boosts like in one shopping cart, it's like the quantity, the Ultra Boost like increases to 2, increases to 3. Instead of like two different array,
Okay.
so you can keep track of the total price of the item.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. That would be fine. You would just have to set this up a little bit differently in where we are adding it to the cart.
Yeah.
we could do that map again, essentially, and just, if it exists, add and change the quantity, otherwise set the new thing. Yeah, Marvin. Sorry? Sure. Doug.
Let's say you wanna delete something from the list, should that be handled on the product list?
Yes. At the moment, that would be handled on the product list because our product list is holding our cart as well as all of our products. So because of that, if we wanted to delete something, we would want to then go in and remove it from the cart, and then we would also want to go back into the product and increase that quantity by 1. But it would definitely be about the same idea. Any other questions? All right, cool. So that's